All right. How are you, everyone? My name is Robbie Law. Welcome out to this Echo webinar. I am so excited to have Dr. Mike Van Thielen with me, PhD, holistic health, nutrition expert. I'm so excited for all of this. We're going to have such a good time discussing some ways where we can biohack our life. So thank you for being here, Dr. Mike.
Thank you for having me, Robbie.
Yeah, for sure. So for those of you who've never been to one of these webinars before, we hold these on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. And we love to bring on experts, those that have a field of study that may be close to hydrogen or to filtration or to healthier water or things like that, but maybe not exactly what that focus is. And that's exactly what Dr. Mike is. He's got a significant background, 30 years in wellness, and he's going to be sharing some different strategies today for each of us. I remember doing this with him a while ago, and I walked away with strategies that I have used since. He talked about 7 different ways we could biohack our life. I don't know if that's the way he framed it, but he talked about breathing, and he talked about how much more efficient it is to breathe through our nose. And I'm really hoping he's going to drop some bombs like that today, because those are such applicable, valuable ways for each and every one of us to get more value. So thank you for being here. And for those of you that are watching on a replay, I appreciate that opportunity to learn with you here today. So to dive right into this, I want to set up some of what it is that we're going to discuss today so that you're aware of, okay, here's where we're headed today. So we're going to be geeking out today about health, and we're going to do it through an active lifestyle. And we're going to talk about the things that if we're actively trying to be healthier, what are some natural ways, some different, things that we can do naturally to become healthier? So we're going to talk about those natural ways to be healthier. We're going to talk about ways to increase our energy, because it's so important that we're able to meet every single day with all of the energy that we have. And then we're going to talk about decreasing inflammation as well, because anytime we're talking about decreasing oxidative stress, we're talking about decreasing inflammation. And so we're going to talk about those things here today. And as we do this, it's so very important that we set goals, that our time today isn't just time spent, listening idly, but we're taking our time to be able to improve ourselves, to improve, our own lives inside our home. For those of us that have a family at home, what can we do to teach them and to benefit them? So walk away, make it a goal to set aside the things that could distract you today. The things like, pulling up our cell phone and, doing some Facebook or Instagram or, anything that might draw your attention away from tonight, because tonight could be a very life-saving opportunity for each and every one of us, because we are talking about our health. So find ways where you can learn today, find ways where you can teach other people the things that you're gaining more understanding of today, that maybe and you're applying, but now you can teach and show an example to other people. But look for those goals so that you walk away from this with at least one new thing for you to do, so your time is very, very well spent. Like I said, our special guest is Dr. Mike Van Thielen. He's got his PhD in holistic nutrition and wellness. I don't even know what genomics is, but I suppose it has something to do with our DNA, with our genetics, with our genes, all of these things. And he's definitely a biohacking expert, author of Walking the Talk, So very excited to have him on. And every time we bring on an expert, we always love to have a special discount on products. So stick around to the end. We've got a great discount on my favorite product that you may see me use here today. But we're going to have that discount kind of near the end. So now that I've got that all set up and we're, kind of understood of what it is we're going to cover, let me just give you a few ideas of how to get the most out of this. If you have earbuds, you'll notice that if you have earbuds to listen in, you'll be able to hear better. So throw those in. It also helps to keep other distractions out. As we go through this, if you have questions, there is a Q&A section. Throw your questions over into that question box. I'm going to try not to disrupt the flow with Dr. Mike, but definitely ask him the questions as they're in flow. And then we've left time at the end where we're going to be able to answer questions, at the very end, to make sure we get all of those things done in detail. We will go about 60 minutes. So we're going to finish at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And I'm going to make that a hard stop because I got band practiced after this. So I got to get over to the band. So So we are going to have some fun, some learn some health. But look, we're going to keep you here for 60 minutes so that you can get some great value out of today. So that's some different ideas on how to get the most out of this. Let's dive right into this and let's talk about biohacking. I want to ask you, Dr. Mike, if you could jump on with this now. What is biohacking? Tell me what this term is. I hear it all the time. I want to make a guess, but what do you say biohacking is?
Well, biohacking is a very amorphous term. It can have many different meanings to different people, sometimes even negative. But in my dictionary, it basically means upgrading our body, our mind, and our life. And from a health perspective, it means objectively reversing our biological age. And today, I believe that the average person with the tips and strategies and technologies available actually can live to be 100 years easily, but be able to do the things a 40-year-old can do, such as going on vacation, skiing, hiking, etc. And so that's increasing our lifespan. And that's what biohacking is really about.
And you first of all, thank you. That's such a good definition. I like this definition because it's like, I want that. I want to be able to live to 100 and do the things I am at 43. I tweaked my knee yesterday. I'm like hobbling around a little bit. I'm like, man, I got to be healthier all the time with everything I can do, because we get one body. We get one, and taking care of it is so important. And I think we often lose focus of how important it really is to do that. So I appreciate what you're doing to raise all of our awareness. So give me some tips, man. What are the biohacking tips that we can follow so that we can really get it done in our life? I want the nitty gritty, the details.
Well, a lot of people like the shortcut, the magic pill, the silver bullet. Unfortunately, that never exists. And, that's what medications and injections and surgery is about. But we know they have not much to do with health. They only have to do with disease and masking symptoms. So when we're talking about biohacking, I usually categorize people in 3 different categories. And based on where they fall, we need to implement different strategies and customize accordingly. But to keep it simple, the first group of people are those who need to regain control of their health. In other words, those are people that are diagnosed with a medical condition, people that are in pain, people that are overweight. And so we need to regain control, get back to quote unquote normal. The second group of people is, once we're back to normal, now we gotta search or go for optimal health. In other words, we need to be strong, vital, and energetic, and we need to be in control of our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual being. We need to be in optimal health. And then step number 3, only when we're in optimal health could we maximize the benefits of biohacking. In other words, again, upgrading mind and body and biologically, or reversing our biological age. So depending where you fall. But I want to say, yes, there's technologies and strategies out there and equipment out there, and some of them are expensive, but that's not where you need to start. We need to start with some foundations or layers of foundation. And in the latest book, I talk about 7 areas where we can upgrade at no or minimal cost to lay that foundation of reversing our biological age. And so we got to talk about water. We talk about air. We talk about movement, and then rest and sleep. And we got to obviously talk about diet, about light, and then lastly, number 7, the mind. Because yes, when we think about health, we think about the body, but we certainly need to upgrade the mind, because the mind controls the body and also creates our future and our success. So we got to start with the 7 foundations of biohacking.
Let's go back to those if we can, because you went through them so quickly. And there's 7. These are the 7 that I talked about last time. I was like, oh, wow, these are so basic. They're so simple. And, first of all, I love how I led you in going, give me the magic pill. And you go, there's no magic pill, Robbie. I appreciate that, because it really helps me get to know where you're coming from, because there is a lifestyle. I'm 43 years old and I work out, incessantly. Active lifestyle matters to me. I care what I eat. I look at the water that I'm drinking. I want to spend my time doing things that are going to make me healthier. So I appreciate the candor and the understanding that there is a process to get there. So you talked about the 7 things. Can you list them for us once again?
Yes, and I can briefly explain each of them. Number one, water, right? We need to drink clean water. It needs to be purified water. Our drinking water is obviously loaded with toxins and chlorine and anything else based on where you live. You can figure out what's in your water, but it needs to be clean. And obviously today, later, we will talk about hydrogen. The water I drink is hydrogen gas infused water, and there's many benefits to that, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But we need to drink clean water, and we need to drink plenty of water. Why plenty of water? Because our system, our human body, is basically a plumbing system. We have a cardiovascular system and we have a lymphatic system, which is part of our immune system, by the way. And so we don't want it to be stagnant. We don't want that to clog up. So hydration is important to keep things moving, and so is activity, which is one of the other 7 pillars. So number one, water, plenty of water and clean water, ideally hydrogen-infused water. Number 2, oxygen. Of course, we need fresh air. We need to spend time outside. Indoor circulated or recirculated air is obviously not the best air. But, yes, we breathe, but 99.9% of us don't know how to breathe. And so most of us are what we call shallow chest breathers. And so what that means is that oxygen that we breathe in is not really getting into the lower parts of our lung, not really getting effectively to our cells. So we need to learn how to breathe properly, which is not through the mouth. The mouth's to eat and to speak. We should breathe in through the nose for 5 counts and out through the nose for 6 counts. That's how we breathe, which would be approximately 6 breaths per minute. Through the mouth, we usually go from 18 to 22 breaths. So it's an increase in efficiency of 300%. Just right there is a major biohack. And for those people who need a little bit of training and don't realize this, it's very easy. You can go on YouTube, or my favorite app, which you can download for free, is The Breath Source. Go to The Breath Source. There's breath masters from all over the world. I follow Travis Stephens. He's my favorite breath master, but it's all for free. Learn how to breathe and utilize that oxygen. So that's step number 2. Obviously, we can go a little bit further and we can talk about hyperbaric oxygen therapy and 100% oxygen and those types of things. But as a foundation, we don't need to invest in equipment. We need to upgrade our water, upgrade our air, and know how to breathe properly. So then we get to number 3. Number 3 is movement. Again, we're a circulatory lymphatic system. We're a plumbing system. We need to move. That does not necessarily mean we have to go to the gym or play organized sports. We just cannot sit still. Whether you go walk or play with the dogs or play with the grandkids or go take dancing lessons, it doesn't matter. You simply need to move. Some people buy a vibration plate at home or a mini trampoline. That all may be helpful, but we need to move so we're not stagnant. So that's number 3. Number 4 is the opposite. We need enough rest and sleep. And when we talk about sleep, we need to talk about deep delta sleep, because that's where our body repairs, renews, replenishes, re-engineers, etc. Right? I always like the analogy of a supermarket. If you go there during the day, great. But what if the people at night don't restock? After 2 days, that supermarket becomes totally useless because there's nothing left, right? It's the same with our body. Our body needs to replenish, repair, and restock and regenerate. And that only can happen during deep sleep. So do whatever it takes to get yourself in an evening power routine to get that deep delta sleep and rest. So that's number 4. Number 5, light. For the healthy oxygen, we got to go outside. For light, we got to go outside also. There's 100 things that we can implement to spend more time outdoors, especially in the weekend. Do things outside, even during lunch at work. Go sit outside. Don't stay inside because light stimulates all biological processes, period, all of them. And then we have our diet. Number 6, we got to upgrade our diet. We can talk about it for a whole day, but basically we need to eat wholesome, organic fruits and vegetables, everything Mother Nature provided us. Try to limit man-made foods, man-made drinks, prescription medication, environmental toxins, polluted water, polluted air. Try to avoid the toxins coming from your cleaning products, your beauty products, and from electromagnetic frequencies, which is your smart appliances, your cell phone, your Wi-Fi, your laptop. So that's upgrading your diet, is keeping toxemia in check, avoiding all the toxins from the man-made things in our world, and go back to what Mother Nature provided, because those things, the things from Mother Nature, will help us, with free radical damage, systemic inflammation, and repairing our DNA, which we'll talk about when we talk about hydrogen. So those are the first 6, and then number 7 is kind of unique, but probably the most important. We need to upgrade our mind, which means is we need to upgrade our belief system that we can overcome cancer, that we can overcome Hashimoto's, that we can overcome being overweight, that we can realize our dreams and our goals in life. So we need to work on our belief system, eliminating false core beliefs, and also, being able to tap into our different brain waves, which each can have advantages based on what we want to accomplish when we're in that brain wave. And today it's actually easy because it sounds difficult. And it was like 2 decades ago when I was a competitive swimmer and people say you need to meditate. I tried a few times. I was unable to clear my mind. And then you give up, because if you don't see benefits, you give up. But today we have so many strategies and technologies available that even within one session, people can experience tapping into a certain brainwave or getting into a meditative state. I'm talking about visualization, manifestation, breath work, brain tap, and all those types of things that facilitate that. So those are the 7 fundamentals. And if we're able to upgrade in each of those areas, you will be amazed what a different person you will be already without spending any extra money on technologies.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I wanted a second chance. I didn't like what I said, so I'm really glad I got a second chance.
There you go.
Thank you. Those are 7 just dynamite, easy things for each of us. There's also a lot of accountability with that. What you're saying is we're responsible. We have a responsibility for ourselves. We have a responsibility to do the things that are available and what we can do. And, obviously everyone's got a different life and a different lifestyle, but there are choices within our life and within our lifestyle that we can make that are healthier choices. And as we begin making those healthier choices, we are able to, to move forward as you just said. So you mentioned so many good things. And, I have so many questions on each and every one of them. I love breathing. I have got my own my breath work for business class that I'm doing on August 23rd. You hear at a studio here in Utah where I live, where we're teaching some of this and how important it is. When it comes to someone's intake of water, because we are here at Echo Water, and you've mentioned a couple of different times, what is happening when we drink water? What's happening to our body? What is it allowing us to do? Why is it so necessary?
To keep it simple, it makes things move, right? Because again, we have a circulatory system and a lymphatic system. And so things need to move within that lymphatic system. Lymphatic system carries our white blood cells, for example. So if there's a pathogen, an invader, a virus, or a bacteria, those white blood cells need to move to the area, to the target, so our T cells can kill those pathogens. So it's about movement. And that's why hydration and activity, that combination of hydrating yourself and being active and moving around, will prevent stagnation. Think about a plumbing system or a piping system in your house. If things don't move, things start clogging up, and that's where your atherosclerosis and your heart attacks and your thrombosis and everything comes from. We need to move and we need to hydrate. Without that water, things don't function. Every living cell in our body needs water. There needs to be a fluidity in our membrane in order to absorb the nutrients within our cells. So to our smallest cells, to a cellular level, water becomes very important because our body constantly adjusts the fluidity in order to absorb or prevent absorption of certain nutrients and compounds.
Yeah, so in general, just drinking water is going to help those systems work better, the movement with our body. I love how you refocus us in on that active lifestyle and why what we're here to talk about today. I read somewhere you're a world record holder.
That's right.
I saw this on LinkedIn. So I was doing my research on you. So tell me about this world record. What is it? What was it for? And then
it has all to do with water, Robbie. It has all to do with water. I was a competitive swimmer till I was about 24. So I started at age 8, which is actually a funny story because I was it's a different school system, but I was in elementary school and I was the fastest runner of the class, and I was on a soccer team, basketball team. But one of my best friends was part of the local swim team. So when it came to swimming, I couldn't win. And apparently I was a sore loser, because my mom tells me the story, I don't really remember. She said that my solution as an 8-year-old was join the swim team myself. And that's where I found my passion for swimming. So then I competed till I was 24, had several Belgian records and Belgian national titles. But then I took a break till I was about 46 years old. And then I decided that I wanted to start swimming again. And looked at first I looked at Belgian master swimming records. And then I got plenty of those. And then I looked American and world records, swimming records. So at age 48, I swam a world record in the 45 plus, yes. So I didn't beat Michael Phelps, but many of those record holders are former Olympians, former world record holders, or NCAA champions for sure.
Oh, wow. That is impressive. It is very impressive. And to, anyone who can, keep their body in that type of shape is someone I'm ready to listen to about an active lifestyle. So, last time we talked a lot about athletes and recovery and being able to have our body to, recover better. And, as we start learning more about what hydrogen does and we start looking at studies, we're starting to see studies. In fact, I have one here where we're starting to see studies where when we look at what hydrogen does, it's adding to performance, by making it easier to recover, by, allowing us to not hit that point of exhaustion, as quickly as we may have before. And so when we look at these studies, this is one, talking about, how their repeated sprints in professional soccer players, they weren't seeing the same level of exhaustion when they drank hydrogen water 30 to 60 minutes before. This one talks about hydrogen rich water enhancing performance and heart rate recover in dragon boat athletes. So when we start looking at this and we say, okay, what's happening? Can you help me understand why a hydrogen molecule would, or hydrogen gas, why that would actually come in and help with recovery and energy like that?
Yeah, it helps with everything in life, but and that's basically because hydrogen is the smallest molecule that we know, but also the lightest element that we know. And so there's many benefits. But when we talk about exercise or athletic performance, we got to first understand that exercise causes oxidative stress and also fatigue, right? So that's the premise. So if we can reduce or mitigate oxidative stress, we obviously going to perform, we're going to increase our performance. We know from these studies, and you mentioned a few there, but I've looked at many more of those, that, with hydrogen, we reduce that oxidative stress, which translates in you're not getting as tired as fast. And that also has to do with the fact that our lactate response, the buildup of lactic acid in our muscles, is slowed down because of hydrogen. For athletes that are listening, we all know about the lactate threshold. So once our bodies start producing more lactic acid than our body can eliminate, that's where we have the threshold, and that's when we actually have to slow down. Our body shuts down and we can't keep up that pace, whatever it is that we're doing. And so hydrogen even delays that threshold, which is very important when you're talking about athletic performance or top performance. At the same time, it also reduces the late onset muscle soreness, which means is after intense exercise or resistance training, you're normally sore, but it reduces that time frame, which is very important when we talk about training for a certain sport or event. So let's explain on how hydrogen basically does this. But to give a great overview, I think we need to explain two different things. Number one, our body has a DNA repair system called the ARTD1 repair system that requires fuel in order for it to work. And that fuel is NAD+. And all of you heard about NAD+ before. And then secondly, I'll need to explain that yes, antioxidants neutralize free radicals, but we can drastically, actually exponentially increase the effectiveness of that if we know about hydrogen and NADPH. So let's start with the first one, right? As part of normal living, we have wear and tear on our body. And with all the toxins that we talked about from man-made foods and medications and electromagnetic frequencies, etc., we cause DNA damage on a DNA level, cellular damage, DNA damage. And so our body normally can repair that by itself, but in most of us that doesn't happen because that system needs fuel, which is NAD+. Now, NAD+, in plenty of research, shows that it's crucial for DNA repair, optimizing mitochondrial function, epigenetic modification, and longevity. So many anti-aging properties to NAD+ too. So how do we assure that we have enough NAD+ fuel in our body so our DNA gets repaired? Well, first of all, we need to mitigate electromagnetic frequency and radiation. We can't go in details today, but there's many things that you can do inside the house, outside of your house, but also to yourself to reduce the effects of electromagnetic frequencies. Number 2, enough rest and sleep. Number 3, niacin. Niacin is a precursor to NAD+. So niacin would be a good supplement to take to make NAD+. And then another thing that would be beneficial is heat exposure, like, for example, far infrared or near infrared saunas, because heat exposure basically stimulates an enzyme called NQO1, which basically makes NAD+ out of NADH, right? And last but not least, resistance training. So strength training, resistance training. All those things will help us with NAD+ in our body. And of course, you can take an NAD+ supplement or get an NAD+ infusion. But in short, we need NAD+ so our repair system can repair our DNA. That's important to understand. The second part of the story is that everybody knows that we have free radicals and that free radicals can cause cellular damage and even DNA damage. And the only solution that we knew or know about is antioxidants that come from our fruits and our vegetables or supplements, because antioxidants donate an electron to the free radical, which is an unstable atom or molecule or molecular fragment. And by donating that electron, it becomes stable again. But unfortunately, our antioxidant now becomes useless. It only can do that one time. But what if we had an electron reservoir and we could continue to donate electrons to that same antioxidant so it could exponentially continue to neutralize the excess free radicals in our body? Wouldn't that be great? Well, it's possible, because the battery of our cells is NADPH, all right? So besides making sure we have enough NAD+ in our body, we need enough NADPH, because that's our battery, that's our electron reservoir. And guess what stimulates NADPH? Hydrogen. H+ is the number one. Yes, low EMR lifestyle would be beneficial, because electromagnetic frequencies, again, from our Wi-Fi, our cell phones, our smart appliances, they drain NADPH, they drain the electrons in our body. So we want to mitigate that. But hydrogen inhibits NOx. NOx is the NADPH oxidase, the enzyme that breaks down NADPH. So that's where hydrogen comes in. Now we're talking about hydrogen. So number one, hydrogen, keeps our NADPH levels high, our electron reservoir, which helps our antioxidants neutralize free radicals. But what most people don't know is that the antioxidants that we take through our food or supplements, such as vitamin C, D, vitamin E, zinc, selenium, glutathione, you name it, they are all charged. What that means is they cannot enter the cell. Hydrogen is not charged and is able to easily enter the cell, protecting all of our proteins, our DNA, our RNA, and our mitochondria. Other antioxidants cannot do that. So hydrogen helps protecting our DNA and helps the formation of NAD+ necessary to repair all the damage, and at the same time stimulates the formation of NADPH, which is the electron reservoir feeding our antioxidants more and more electrons, so they continue to be useful in neutralizing free radicals. And so in general, what we're doing here is, which is actually the third pathway, I'll throw that right in there. Hydrogen also stimulates the NRF2 pathway, which is a lot of letters and numbers, but what it means is that pathway is the master regulator of oxidative stress. So now when we think about hydrogen, we're thinking about the number one thing that we can put in our body to mitigate and reduce and attack that oxidative stress, which is caused by exercise, for example. That's how hydrogen works, and that's why it's so powerful.
You really have a PhD in this stuff, man. I listen to you and just am blown away. This is an article right here that's talking about hydrogen being a selective antioxidant, and it's going after these free radicals and these things in us that are causing additional inflammation and stress to our systems, and yet it's selectively targeting it, like it's going through and being this cleaning tool for us. And for me, I had no idea about I mean, obviously I've heard of hydrogen before, but I'm not a chemist or I'm not a scientist. I don't have a PhD. I'm just a guy. But the more I'm learning about this, the more I'm learning I have a way where I can actually have another assistant inside my body to be able to do it. So let's talk about hydrogen water in your life. So you talk about hydrogen. There's ways you can take it in a pill. I've seen that, but the way hydrogen works, it's a gas. If you put it in a pill and you go to put it in water, as it's evaporating, so is your hydrogen. I mean, good luck getting very much from that. The tests show that it just doesn't stay very well. Water as a delivery system has proven to be able to have a retention rate. We have some systems that are like the Go Plus. This is a concentrated system. It's been tested at 4.6 parts per million, which is far greater than anything I've ever heard of. And, it's got the Echo H2 and the Ultimate. They're at like 1.6 to 1.8 parts per million. We talk about, like a therapeutic dose if we were to use it, or some sort of way to measure what it's, what a good parts per million would be. And it's at about 0.5 parts per million is where that therapeutic, level is, where they would run trials and things like that. So can you talk to me about hydrogen for a little bit? I know that you're not here, to talk about Echo products specifically, but I do know you use them. So if you want to mention them, that's fine. But I want to know, what is it that you do now that you have all this information, about hydrogen? What have you done to put it into your life personally?
Well, yeah, I got the Echo 2 water system out there, 5 parts per million. Most of the research that you said is done at 0.5. So obviously, by drinking this hydrogen water, I'm getting plenty of hydrogen in my system, and it's here at home, and I drink it all day long. That's the water that I drink. I like the fact that obviously the system itself also purifies my water, because I don't want any chlorine or chloramine or lead or any other metals in my water, and then it infuses it with hydrogen gas. As you said a long time ago, when I first started learning about it, I actually bought the tablets as a supplement because I didn't know about the systems that were available. And like you said, when you do that, we really don't know what's going on. We know how many parts per million there is. It doesn't retain or stay in the water. It's not as stable. And you got to drink it immediately, but it has a very metallic taste also. This unit, the Echo 2 water system that I have, I mean, the water tastes so good. You don't have that metallic taste at all. And as you said, the water contains the hydrogen gas much longer. Obviously, when I take water, I drink the water. We can take it to work with us or wherever we travel in the bottles that you have, because you want to fill them up to the top. That way there's no oxygen and the H2 cannot combine with the O to form water. So it's always good that when you have a bottle that you fill them up to the top, and then when you're ready to drink it, you kind of empty it. So those are a few little tricks, but I wouldn't be too concerned about it. But yeah, I drink hydrogen water, not just because it has a positive effect on the oxidative stress from an athletic point of view, because that's a big advantage. I would think that if you delay your lactate response, if you delay fatigue, and if you increase your performance and your recovery, I mean, there's no doubt about that. But there's so many other things that hydrogen do. For example, for our brain, for our gut, we can go into that. But I help a lot of people with gut problems, when it comes with hydrogen water, very simply. So yeah, I just drink hydrogen water because it's very easy to do. You got to drink water anyway. So why not drink clean water infused with hydrogen? Because the benefits are limitless. For those people, there's about 1,100, I believe, scientific research studies out there on hydrogen. Just go to hydrogenstudies.com. There's actually a search bar to see if you have a certain medical condition or a diagnosis, or you want to find the articles we talked about athletic performance. Just put those keywords in the search box, and those articles simply will drop down there for you.
Yeah, in fact, I'll just show them really quick because it's really such a great site to head over to. So I'll just walk you through this really quick. If you just hit hydrogenstudies.com, you can do a search for whatever you want. I'll just put in inflammation, and you'll see when it comes to studies, you can go and see there's 309 studies on inflammation. You can look at the types of subjects, whether it's human testing, if it was testing with cell cultures, if it was testing on a zebrafish, there's all sorts of tests that they do to determine the the value that hydrogen has. Now, when you look at the studies that have been done, the studies have now gotten to the point where there's, I think there's 1,200, 1,300 studies now. And this really started happening as Dr. Paul was building these machines and really kind of bringing this to light, that hydrogen was such a great, tool that we can use. Now, I want to come back to, some of these biohacking methods and utilizing, hydrogen to do that. So you talked about, putting it into your day. I also want to ask you, is there, I get this question so much, can you drink too much hydrogen water?
Some of my colleagues say yes. But I think that's going to be hard to measure. Number one, every individual is different too. What are your deficiencies? What is your oxidative stress? What do you do during the day to cause more oxidative stress? Are you a top athlete? Are you sedentary? Do you have medical diagnosis? So that's going to be very hard at this point, at least, to see what you need and whether or not you're getting too much. And I think to put that in perspective, I think the debate would be because most of us see free radicals as something bad. But free radicals are also scavengers. We need free radicals to kill invaders, to kill antigens, to kill viruses, pathogens, bacteria. So there needs to be a balance. We cannot kill all our free radicals because then we will affect negatively our immune system. It just happens to be that the average human produces too many free radicals, and that has to do with the toxins that we are exposed to, the toxins that we ingest, because, and maybe this is a quick, simple explanation that people usually like, is I believe that all disease is caused by only one thing. It's called toxemia, which literally means toxins in the blood. But in a little bit more detail, what it means is that on a daily basis, we produce waste in our body as part of living, as part of our metabolism, we produce waste. But in a healthy organism, that waste or those toxins are eliminated by our body through the kidneys, through the intestines, through our skin, etc. So no harm is done. But today we are bombarded with toxins. We obviously eat too many of them. We consume too many of them through our man-made foods and drinks. Then we got all our prescription and over-the-counter medications. And like I said, we don't live in pristine areas anymore. We got the 5G towers. We got the wireless. We got the electromagnetic frequencies. We got the smart appliances. We got all our beauty products that are full of toxins and our cleaning products. So we're really bombarded with toxins. And so when we are exposed to far more toxins than our body possibly can eliminate, then there's an accumulation of toxins in our body and in our blood. And that's what I call toxemia. And now what happens with these toxins that our body cannot eliminate? It needs to somehow manage them or neutralize them. And so that constant state of emergency is what we call systemic inflammation. And even conventional medicine now agrees that over 90% of all disease is directly correlated to the systemic inflammation. Okay, there's two things that happen when those toxins are just floating around in our body because they can't be eliminated. Number one, these toxins steal an electron from a healthy atom, which then becomes unstable, which is a free radical, right? So there's our oxidative stress again. And number two, the constant state of emergency causes systemic inflammation, the cause of all disease. So the answer to all disease and being healthy is to keep toxemia in check. How do we do that? Theoretically, pretty easy, actually, theoretically. Number one, we need to make a conscious effort to reduce the exposure and intake of toxins, man-made foods, man-made drinks, prescription and over-the-counter medications, and all the environmental toxins, polluted water, polluted air, household products, beauty products, electromagnetic radiation from all the frequencies and wireless devices. Mitigate them as much as you can and simultaneously increase the nutrients that fight free radical damage. We talked about antioxidants, hydrogen, the number one thing, because it can do it inside the cell and it produces NADPH, the electron reservoir. So, increase nutrients that neutralize free radicals, fight systemic inflammation, anti-inflammatory foods, not pro-inflammatory foods and drinks, and repair DNA damage. If we can do that and keep toxemia in check, you'll never get any disease.
So good. So you said the three things were to increase nutrients that neutralize free radicals and then do two other things. I'm adding these.
Fight fight inflammation and repair DNA damage. Because we can't avoid all toxins, right? Unless you're going to move to a pristine area away from human civilization. We can do whatever we can to mitigate, but we always will get some toxins in that cause some damage. But what if we can repair that damage? We have an innate system to do that. We just need to make sure it has the fuel to do so, and that's NAD+.
Yeah, that's so good. I'm putting it in the comments so I can go back and go add it in because I want to make a video about this because these are really, really good, details that we need just as people that don't have time to go and geek out on this stuff like you do. Like I hear you talk about this, like you have spent so much time researching and looking through documents. I can see you in like way back in the day, like in the school, like inside your book, I picture you being someone who really did, go through and study. Anyone who can get a PhD, I've worked with many now in my career, and each are unique and each have really devoted and dedicated themselves a lot. So I appreciate it because it's nice to get the shortcuts, but I know they're not shortcuts. Let me rephrase it, Dr. Mike. The high level golden nuggets that I get to take home.
I'm just one of those people though that needs some kind of a motivation or a goal in order to really dig deep. So what I usually do, I get interested in something and I decide to write a book about it, for example, and that's when I have to do the research. So for example, this was a bestseller on Amazon about electromagnetic radiation and frequencies. So there's hundreds of tips in there that people can implement in the house to reduce that exposure. And then my latest book, The ISOT Method, talks about the DNA repair and the biohacking and upgrading the mind. So what I do is I set myself, I'm telling people when I'm going to publish a book, and now I'm forced to do that research. So that's how I live.
I love that. And if you wouldn't mind, throw some links to those books into the chat box if you've got them, so we can buy them on Amazon.
All my books are on my website, and so is all my other information, biohackingunlimited.com. You can find anything there.
Perfect. There we go. It's biohackingunlimited.com. And, like I mentioned, whenever we have a guest on with us, I love to throw a deal out. So I want to throw a deal out to the group right now, and I'll walk them through this really quickly. So, getting more hydrogen into our body is what we're talking about here on this call. Is how can I get the benefit that, some of the benefits that we're talking about right now. And a great way to be able to do that is through these Echo products. Now, this specific product is the Echo Go Plus. Now, the Echo Go Plus is a portable hydrogen water machine. Okay. Now, I have one right here, and I got to say, it's like so fun to have when people don't know what it is, because you press the button, it starts this little, situation right here, and it just looks so cool when it's happening. And so people ask me, what are you drinking? And I'm like, I'm drinking the future right now, is what I love to say. But, what a couple things on this, when you click it one time, it's a 5-minute cycle that it's running through, and it's essentially running this electrolysis process. It's releasing oxygen into the atmosphere and hydrogen gas being diffused into the system. And so it's great for on the go. You do want to use filtered water, some sort of purified water, bottled water, that is what you want to use. If the water's got things like chlorine in it and everything, you don't want to make that more bioavailable in your body. And so once that's done, you drink it immediately, and now in 5 minutes I've got this opportunity to have hydrogen in my body. And so the Echo Go Plus is $249, and it, like I said, when you click it, it goes to 2.3 parts per million. If you click it twice, the second cycle can get it up to 4.5 parts per million. So it's 10-ounce capacity, and this battery lasts like 20 charges. So I went to Vegas. I had a big event in Vegas a couple of weeks ago, and I went down there. I had this with me, and I just kept filling this thing up. And, by the end of the week, I was still in just fine. The charge was still there. So great product to have in your life. Great, something to be able to get hydrogen into your system. And today we're doing a discount on it. It's 15% off. So I'm going to throw that discount into the offer section. So you can just click on the offer that I just put out there. It'll take you directly to the shopping cart to get a good discount on the Echo Go Plus. So Dr. Mike, I wanted to throw that out there so that everybody has some opportunity to be able to get hydrogen in their life. So thank you for letting me do that. So let's get back to our discussion. You were talking about DNA, and you were talking about, not ADP, ATP, not ATP.
NAD plus or
NAD plus. There we go. NAD plus. And, you hit on that. Now, as someone with an active lifestyle, I recognize when my body is not producing it correctly. So what is, if I were to say, okay, I'm going to go drink hydrogen, it's going to help with these reserves, it's going to do these beneficial things. How much water should I be drinking? How much would you say, an average sized human being can drink in water, hydrogen water?
Yeah, we all had these guidelines in the past about your body weight divided by 2, so many ounces and this and that. And, I think that most of us are dehydrated, right? In other words, we're not drinking enough water. And at the same time, our body is totally off. Many times our biorhythms are off, and our body is not in a balanced position. Because if we're in optimal health, if we're in good health, all we would need to do is listen to our body. In other words, if we're thirsty, we drink. If we're not thirsty, we don't drink. But it's the same with food. If we're hungry, we eat. If we're not hungry, we don't eat. But we eat anyway, because there's a difference between hunger and appetite. There's a difference between thirst and appetite, right? And so when we really start to distinguish between thirst and appetite, and we have a balanced body, then we know exactly when to drink, because our body will ask for it. And that's kind of the ultimate goal here, is to get your body back in balance, and then listen to your body, but always ask, am I really thirsty, or do I want a beer? Do I want a drink? Do I want to drink because other people are drinking, or am I thirsty? And so, but again, I think most people need to start about just drinking as much as they can to get hydrated again, to get back to quote unquote normal. Do you have a dry throat? Do you have dry lips? How is your stool? Are you constipated? Those types of things would be signs of dehydration. So step number one for most people is you got to start really drinking more water. So all those signs, no constipation, no dry mouth, no dry lips and those types of things are normalized. And then from that moment on, really trying to listen to your body and distinguish between hunger and appetite and thirst and appetite. And that's the only and the best way to decide how much body you need, because everybody, again, needs more. If you run 2 hours per day, obviously you're going to lose a lot more water and electrolytes than somebody who just sat at a computer 2 hours. So just to say you need to drink so much water or base it on weight is really not very accurate either. It's a good guideline to start, but my guideline would be drink more than normal so there's no signs of dehydration. If you don't know what all the signs of dehydration are, Google them. You'll get a whole list. And if you have them, keep drinking until they're normalized. Then start listening to your body and distinguish between thirst and appetite.
I love that advice. I do, because people always want some canned solution. Here's your canned solution of an answer that works for everyone. And that's just not the way things work. Our bodies are all a little bit different. So I really appreciate that. Speaking of that, I don't know if you heard the beep. That means my Echo Go Plus is done. So I'm going to go ahead and drink my water right now in front of everyone. You can be jealous if you want, but I have a Go Plus. I already took advantage of the offer. So now I have one. I have two, actually. It's good. It tastes like water is what it tastes like. So, I appreciate that explanation there. That's a good, bit of advice. Look for those signs of dehydration. They're so simple to recognize if we actually ask ourselves, is this important to me? Do I need to know, if my body is feeling dehydrated? Last week, for those of you that didn't catch the webinar, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, actually, we had Crystal Zinn on, and she talked about fascia, and it was fascinating. That's a nice joke right there. But it really was. She was talking about fascia and how necessary hydration is for our fascia, and how, that is holding so much of our body together, and it's all over inside our, it's not just this outer layer of skin. That's not the only part of our fascia. It goes all the way through our nerves and everything. And my wife and I had just been to Las Vegas, and we saw the bodies exhibit where, they have human bodies all the way down to the bone, to the every single detail. They had the veins, and seeing how much tissue and, how much is actually going on in our body. Man, I was walking over to the drinking fountain, and I was saying, I don't need hydrogen water for this, man. I got to hydrate this thing, because there is so much going on inside our human system. So you've given us some amazing ideas on how we can biohack our human system. And I want to give you some more time to maybe give us a last word, give us some ideas, give us some advice, because you made a really bold statement earlier. You said that we have the technology, we have the understanding now to be able to live to 100 years old and feel like you're 40 and do things like you're 40. So I want to give you, kind of the last word here. Give us the hope that we can do that, and maybe some ideas on what we would do if we want to live to 100 and still be, feeling like we're 40.
Well, yeah, hope's not going to do it. Action is the only thing that's really going to make the difference, right? But again, start with the fundamentals. You will be amazed on how much difference you can make by just focusing on your water and your air and your movement and your sleep and your diet and your mind. And that's just where you need to start. And when it comes to hydrogen water, yes, we talked mostly about, DNA repair and about, antioxidant or the oxidative stress that hydrogen helps with. But, do a little bit more research, because hydrogen itself is really good for the brain, because, again, it's able to enter the cells and protect the cells, the mitochondria, the protein. So think about Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and dementia, and how hydrogen can help there, especially preventatively. And also think about all those people today that are suffering with gut problems, leaky gut, or Crohn's disease, or celiac disease, or food intolerances. Hydrogen is a key there also, because when you go to your doctor with any of those conditions, they will put you on a certain diet. And usually the diet doesn't work because there's something missing. And what's missing is an environment in which your good bacteria, which are your anaerobic bacteria, can colonize. And only hydrogen, within about 2 to 3 weeks already, will reestablish a membrane potential or a potential voltage of 300 millivolts or higher, which is the ideal environment for your good bacteria to colonize. So even when it comes to your gut, which is 70-80% of your immune system, if you have any problems there, hydrogen will also create an environment for that to heal. So the benefits of hydrogen are endless, and it's so easy for you to get hydrogen into your body. You drink anyways, just drink hydrogen.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate the value that you brought today. You know, we didn't have any questions come up in the Q&A while I'm going out. If you have any questions for Dr. Mike or myself, we would love to stick around for a bit to answer those questions. Feel free to throw them in the Q&A. But a very, very non-lively group in the chat box, but I know the appreciation's there. And if you're watching this on a replay, make sure and jump onto Dr. Mike's website at MVT Online. I think it's so funny, MVT, like so bad I want that to be MTV Online. And I'm like, is MTV back and it's online now? You know, and so I see it. So it's MVT Online or biohackingunlimited.com. I appreciate so much. Yeah, so much the time that you gave us here today, the value, I went and wrote down the top 7 things and, a little bit on each. Water, number 1, water, clean water, water that's been filtered. Number 2, get oxygen, get outside. I loved how you mentioned getting outside over and over.
Breath work.
Yeah. Breath work. Number 3 was movement, and we just need to move our body and it, in a way that we can, which didn't mean going to the gym, which I loved. Number 4 was sleep. You talked about deep delta sleep and how important that is. Number 5 was light and to get outside. And can you tell me a little bit about what happens to our body when light hits it? Could you tell us that really quickly?
Yeah, of course. It stimulates all nutritional processes. We know it helps with calcium assimilation and vitamin D. We know we're all deficient on vitamin D and all the effects that a deficiency of vitamin D has. But it's not only that, it actually stimulates all biological processes, which people, they're limitless, right? We have millions and millions of chemical reactions per second in our body, and they all would benefit from light. The best proof of that is that when you look at all the animals or the life around the equator and in the Amazon, all those animals are huge, they're colorful, they're colors, they're strong. And compare those to animals that live underground or in the dark. They have no colors, they're weak, they're blind. And that's what the difference of light is in somebody's life. Vital versus near death. That's the difference that light can make in somebody's life. So get some light.
I love that. Number 6 was diet. We talked about limiting man-made foods. I loved that. We also talked about all the other things that could be in our diet, all the way down to prescription meds and polluted water and air and cleaning products, all that. Number 7 was the mind and overcoming limiting beliefs. I love that because it makes us accountable. It helps us go, yes, we all have a different mind. Yes, we all, operate a little bit differently, but we also have this malleability to our mind. We have the ability to overcome limited beliefs. I know that from my own personal life in being someone who was an opiate addict for 6 years and was able to overcome that and have been clean for 14 years now. I look at that and go, man, was I in a place where I thought I had no way out. And I did. I found a way, and there is a way. And so knowing how to, to get this mind going in the right direction, that is on us. So those were so valuable. Once again, Dr. Mike, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And I know I'm going to ask you to do this again. I hope it's a yes. Can we get maybe another one of these?
Sure.
All right, man. Thank you so much once again for being here. And we will see everybody next time. Take care.